Hi, I'm John Tabat, and I'm going to be talking to you about the legalization of marijuana. As many of you know, the argument of whether or not marijuana should be legalized has been talked about for ages now, and I will be discussing and presenting you with facts to why marijuana should be legalized on a federal, state, and local level. Um, I will be talking about how the legalization will be bringing in taxes, how it will be freeing incarcerated people from marijuana charges, and how our law enforcement officers can benefit from the legalization of marijuana. So, first off, a lot of people would say just why not decriminalize it instead of legalize it? Well, legalization, um, it will um, it will get rid of all the illegal activity, like all the illegal connotation with it. So that means you won't be getting fined or arrested or anything. And legalization would allow taxes to be collected. So that means the government could benefit from it and the society itself could benefit from it. But if it was just decriminalized, you wouldn't be able to collect taxes per se, but you wouldn't be arrested on site for it. You would just get like a fine or whatever. Um, but taxes, so taxes would be able to be collected if it were to be legalized at a federal level. But then you would also have to get it legalized at a state level so that it could be sold. Um, Federal taxes, if it were to be legalized federally, things that could benefit from the taxes collected would be our defense, some social security. So I know social security is a big thing because um, the more the more as more years progress, um, the younger generations have to work until an older age because of the social security. And if marijuana were to be legalized, um, everything would be assured for our generation, and healthcare would be benefited too. State taxes as well. With education, I know a lot of schools could benefit from this. Um, as far as like getting computers to kids or improving classrooms. Um, but look at Oregon, for example. Um, According to Fuller of the New York Times, the Oregon measure makes possession of small amounts of what have been long considered harder drugs a violation, similar to a traffic ticket and no longer punishable by jail time. The law also funds drug addiction treatment from marijuana sales. So that just means um, instead of getting arrested, people are getting fines, which kind of sounds like decriminalization. But what does come into effect here is that marijuana sales are helping with the treatment facilities involved. So instead of people going to jail, maybe they just go to a treatment facility to help them with their addiction or whatnot. Um, and to go along with the taxes, um, according to Bill Weinberg and Nicholas Rapp the um, of the papermag.com, they said a federal tax on cannabis could generate an additional $500 million annually for the federal government, and that's just federally. So that could do a lot of stuff. I mean, 500 million doesn't sound a lot, but it can really, like, if the government were to like incorporate this, it could go a far way. And for incarceration, um, removal of offenders, so we our jail system wouldn't be so backed up and congested, so we can actually keep people in there that belong to be in there. Our tax money would be better spent. So if we reduce spending in our jail systems, then we can use that money elsewhere, such as like road construction or, like I said, schools. Um, and yeah, that would just open up a whole bunch of space and keep people out of there that really don't belong in there. Um, According to Aaron's, she wrote a scholarly journal. She said a number of jurisdictions have already begun the process of vacating and expunging marijuana convictions as a necessary step to right the wrongs of what a failed war on drugs has done. And that's more than true. The war on marijuana has just been a waste of time and taxpayer dollars. I mean, look at where we are today compared to where we were, I don't know, 20, 30 years ago, where there were being raids every other week on farms that grew marijuana. And today, now it's being sold in some states legally. And I mean, if it were to be legalized federally, then we would just be taking one step in the right direction. And our police duties would also change. So, if police aren't out there looking for offenders that are using marijuana or trying to sell marijuana, then they are able to better serve and protect our community. And when I say people are no longer hunted over here, I mean people aren't like getting raids on their house because they're using marijuana or they're known to, I don't know, sell it to some people. But yeah, according to the Drug Policy Alliance, it says scarce law enforcement resources will be better used to ensure public safety while reducing corrections and court costs. So like I said earlier, the less we spend on the war on drugs, the more we can spend on other things such as, you know, roads and schools or just whatever you can think of that taxpayer dollars go towards. And it would also take our police officers out of potentially dangerous situations. So I think the the legalization of marijuana could benefit the society as a whole. In conclusion, if marijuana were to become legal to use and sell, I think the overall change in our country would be a positive change. Not only would it bring in more money for our addiction treatment facilities, but it would benefit the people with marijuana charges and the cops that have dealt